There are very few brands in the world that can be recognized without a single word, just a pair of golden arches. And almost everyone knows exactly what they represent. For some people, McDonald's is a quick meal on a busy afternoon. For others, it's childhood, birthday parties, road trips, the smell of fresh fries that somehow brings back memories from years ago. Whether you love it or avoid it, there's no denying one thing. McDonald's has become one of the most influential companies ever created. Today, it serves millions of customers every single day in more than 100 countries. But here's what makes the story so fascinating. It wasn't built by a world-famous chef. It didn't begin with a revolutionary recipe. And it certainly didn't start with dreams of becoming a global empire. It started with two brothers who simply believed restaurants were making life harder than it needed to be. To understand McDonald's, we have to go back to Southern California in the 1940s. Richard and Maurice McDonald owned a small drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino. Like most restaurants of the time, customers parked their cars, placed their orders with car hops, and waited, sometimes for 20 minutes, sometimes even longer. The menu offered dozens of choices. That sounded like good customer service. But behind the scenes, it created confusion. More menu items meant slower kitchens, longer waiting times, higher costs, and more mistakes. Most restaurant owners accepted those problems as normal. The McDonald brothers didn't. They kept asking themselves one simple question: what do customers actually want? After watching their business for months, they discovered something surprising. Most people weren't coming for the entire menu. The majority ordered the same few things: hamburgers, fries, and drinks. That realization changed everything. In 1948, the brothers made a decision that sounded completely irrational. They closed their successful restaurant, not because they were losing money, but because they believed success wasn't good enough. They wanted something better. For months, they redesigned every part of the business. When the restaurant reopened, the car hops were gone. The menu had been reduced to only a handful of items. Every employee had one clearly defined job. Instead of cooking meals from start to finish, each worker repeated the same task over and over. One grilled the burgers. Another toasted the buns. Another added the toppings. Another wrapped the food. It looked less like a traditional restaurant and more like an assembly line. The brothers called it the Speedee Service System, and without realizing it, they had just invented the blueprint for modern fast food. Customers who once waited 20 minutes could now receive their meal in less than a minute. It wasn't just faster. It was more affordable, more consistent, and far more efficient. The McDonald brothers had solved a problem millions of people didn't even know they had, but they still thought small. They wanted one excellent restaurant, not thousands. Little did they know, someone was about to walk through their doors and see something much bigger than a hamburger stand. That man was Ray Kroc. By the early 1950s, Kroc was already in his 50s. Unlike many famous entrepreneurs, he wasn't a young genius with a groundbreaking idea. In fact, his career had been filled with ordinary jobs. He had worked as a paper cup salesman, played piano to earn extra money, and eventually found himself traveling across America selling milkshake machines. It was honest work, but it wasn't the life he had imagined. Then one day, everything changed. A restaurant in San Bernardino placed an order for 8 milkshake machines. 8. Most restaurants only needed one. Curious, Kroc decided to see the place for himself. When he arrived, he expected a large restaurant packed with expensive equipment. Instead, he found a small hamburger stand. But what happened there amazed him. Customers lined up, placed their orders, and received hot food almost immediately. The kitchen moved with incredible precision. There was no chaos, no confusion. Every employee knew exactly what to do. Standing there, Ray Kroc realized he wasn't looking at an ordinary restaurant. He was looking at a system, and systems can be replicated. The McDonald brothers had built an incredibly efficient business, but they were content with what they had. Ray Kroc wasn't. He imagined hundreds of McDonald's restaurants across America, then thousands. His vision was simple. If every restaurant followed the exact same process, used the same ingredients, served the same menu, and delivered the same experience, customers would know exactly what to expect, no matter where they were. That consistency would become McDonald's greatest strength. In 1955, Ray Kroc opened his first McDonald's franchise in Des Plaines, Illinois. It wasn't the first McDonald's restaurant, but it was the beginning of something much bigger. Business grew quickly. Families loved the affordable prices. Travelers appreciated knowing exactly what kind of meal awaited them in a new town. For the first time, fast food felt predictable, and people trusted it because of that. But expanding so quickly created a new challenge. How do you keep hundreds of restaurants serving the same burger with the same quality every single day? Ray Kroc became obsessed with consistency. He introduced strict operating standards. Employees were trained to follow the same methods. Cooking times were carefully measured. Even the thickness of the French fries mattered. Some people thought he was being overly strict, but Kroc believed customers weren't just buying food, they were buying confidence. When someone walked into a McDonald's in California, they should have the same experience as someone visiting one in New York. That promise became one of the company's greatest competitive advantages. Then, in 1961, Ray Kroc made the biggest decision of his career. He purchased the rights to McDonald's from Richard and Maurice McDonald for $2.7 million. It was a life-changing deal for both sides. The brothers walked away with the company they had created. Ray Kroc walked away with the future of McDonald's. From that moment on, his goal was no longer to build a successful restaurant chain. His goal was to build one of the most recognizable brands the world had ever seen. And remarkably, he succeeded beyond almost anyone's imagination. After buying McDonald's in 1961, Ray Kroc moved fast. New restaurants began appearing across America, then across the world. But the real genius behind McDonald's wasn't just opening more locations. It was creating an experience that felt familiar everywhere. Whether you walked into a McDonald's in Chicago, in Aparta, Adonda, Sydney, you knew what to expect. The same golden arches, the same menu, the same fries, the same smile at the counter. In a world that was changing rapidly, that consistency became incredibly valuable. Families trusted it. Travelers relied on it. Children fell in love with it. McDonald's wasn't just selling hamburgers anymore. It was selling familiarity. As the company grew, it also became part of popular culture. In 1963, Ronald McDonald made his first appearance. For millions of children, he wasn't just a mascot. He was part of growing up. Then, in 1979, came another brilliant idea, the Happy Meal. It wasn't simply a smaller burger and fries. It was an experience, a colorful box, a surprise toy, a reason for children to ask their parents, "Can we go to McDonald's?" It was one of the most successful marketing ideas in history. Because McDonald's understood something many businesses still struggle to learn. People rarely remember an ordinary meal, but they never forget how a place made them feel. For many families, McDonald's became the destination after a soccer game. The stop during a long road trip, the reward for good grades, the place where birthdays were celebrated. Over time, those simple moments became memories, and those memories became loyalty. But there was another reason McDonald's became so successful, one that most customers never noticed. Many people think McDonald's is simply in the burger business. In reality, it's also in the real estate business. Ray Kroc believed that owning the land beneath many of its restaurants gave the company stability and long-term financial strength. It was a strategy that helped transform McDonald's into one of the world's most valuable businesses. By the end of the 20th century, the Golden Arches had become one of the most recognizable symbols on earth. More than a logo, more than a restaurant, it had become a global icon. But with that success came something unavoidable. The bigger McDonald's became, the more people began asking difficult questions. Questions about health, the environment, and the true cost of fast food. No company grows this large without facing criticism, and McDonald's was no exception. Success brings admiration, but it also brings scrutiny. As McDonald's expanded into thousands of locations around the world, it became more than a restaurant chain. It became a symbol, and symbols are always judged. Over the years, McDonald's has faced criticism over the nutritional value of its food, the rise of obesity, environmental concerns, packaging waste, and the treatment of workers. Documentaries questioned its impact. Health experts encouraged people to make healthier choices. Customers began asking for fresher ingredients and more transparency. For a company built on consistency, adapting to a changing world wasn't easy. But McDonald's did what it had done since the very beginning. It adapted. Salads appeared on the menu. Healthier options were introduced in many countries. Digital kiosks replaced traditional ordering in many restaurants. Mobile apps, delivery services, and changing menus showed that even one of the world's biggest companies couldn't afford to stand still. Because history has a simple lesson. The moment a business believes it no longer needs to change, it starts falling behind. Today, McDonald's serves millions of customers every day across more than 100 countries. Yet when people talk about McDonald's, they rarely start with numbers. They talk about memories. The first Happy Meal, stopping during a family road trip, sharing fries with friends after school, or the excitement of seeing the Golden Arches as a child. And maybe that's the real reason. McDonald's became one of the most successful companies in history. It never sold just hamburgers. It sold something much harder to build: familiarity, reliability, and moments that quietly became part of people's lives. Personally, I think that's what makes this story so fascinating. You don't have to eat at McDonald's every week to appreciate what it achieved. Two brothers wanted to make a restaurant faster. One salesman dreamed much bigger. Together, they changed not only the fast food industry, but the way millions of people experience eating outside their homes. Whether you see McDonald's as a business genius, a cultural icon, or a company that has sparked important debates, its impact on the modern world is impossible to ignore. And perhaps that's why, after more than 80 years, those simple golden arches are still recognized almost everywhere on Earth. If you enjoyed this story, there's more waiting for you. Click the video on the left to watch The Rise and Fall of Toys R Us and discover how one of the world's most beloved toy stores lost everything. Or click the video on the right to watch Coca-Cola's journey from pharmacy to empire and see how a small medicinal drink became one of the most recognizable brands in history. If you enjoy documentaries about iconic companies, business history, and the stories behind the world's biggest brands, subscribe and join us for the next journey. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.